First story. Whispers in the Pines, by Emily Johnson. It was a crisp autumn weekend when I decided to embark on a solo camping trip in the dense pine forests of northern Michigan. The towering trees seemed to whisper secrets, as their rustling leaves created a symphony of nature's own. The air was filled with the earthy aroma of fallen leaves, creating a perfect setting for a peaceful retreat into the wilderness. I pitched my tent near a small clearing, surrounded by a canopy of ancient pines. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of deep purples and oranges. As darkness settled in, the only source of light was the crackling fire I had built. Little did I know, the tranquility of the night would soon be shattered. Around midnight, I awoke to the distant sound of footsteps. Not the rhythmic crunch of leaves under the weight of an animal, but deliberate and calculated steps. My heart raced as I strained my ears, attempting to discern the direction of the intruder. The footsteps drew nearer, and my senses heightened. I peered out of my tent, scanning the darkness for any signs of movement. That's when I noticed a faint glow in the distance. It flickered and danced through the trees like a distant lantern. My instincts urged me to stay hidden, and I watched in silence as the mysterious light drew closer. As the light approached, I discerned the silhouette of a person. Their figure was shrouded in darkness, and the glow emanated from an old-fashioned lantern they carried. The strange part? They were dressed in antiquated clothing, reminiscent of the early 20th century. My nerves tingled as the person, seemingly lost in time, passed by my campsite without acknowledging my presence. I hesitated for a moment, then mustered the courage to follow them. The woods seemed to close in around me as I pursued the enigmatic figure. The lantern light led me to an abandoned cabin nestled deep within the pines. The door creaked open with an eerie groan as I cautiously entered. Dust danced in the air, and the wooden floorboards protested under my weight. The lantern light vanished, plunging me into absolute darkness. In that black void I heard whispers, indistinct murmurs that echoed through the cabin. My breath caught in my throat as the voices grew louder, swirling around me like a haunting melody. Panic set in, and I stumbled backward, desperate to escape the suffocating whispers. I burst out of the cabin, gasping for air in the cool night. The lantern light reappeared in the distance, and the footsteps continued their rhythmic journey through the forest. My fear overpowered my curiosity, and I sprinted back to my campsite, leaving behind the mysterious echoes of the past. To this day, I can't explain the encounter in those haunted woods. Was it a ghostly wanderer lost in time, or did my imagination play tricks on me? The only certainty is that the whispers in the pines will forever linger in the recesses of my memory, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable mysteries that can unfold in the heart of nature. Second story. The Silent Observer, by David Anderson. It was a warm summer evening when I decided to embark on an overnight hike along the rugged trails of the Appalachian Mountains. The dense foliage cast dappled shadows on the narrow path as I trekked deeper into the wilderness. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the forest transformed into a realm of muted colors and eerie silence. I set up camp near a babbling brook, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to stand sentinel over the secluded spot. The night unfolded peacefully, with only the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. Little did I know, an unsettling presence lurked in the shadows. As I lay in my tent, preparing to succumb to the embrace of sleep, I noticed a subtle disturbance in the air. It was a feeling, an intangible weight that settled upon me. I dismissed it as my overactive imagination and closed my eyes, hoping to drift into a peaceful slumber. In the darkest hours of the night, I awoke to a sound that sent shivers down my spine: footsteps. Not the carefree rustling of small animals, but deliberate and purposeful steps that echoed through the stillness. My senses went on high alert as I strained to identify the source of the intrusion. I cautiously unzipped my tent and peered into the darkness. Moonlight filtered through the leaves, revealing a figure standing at the edge of the clearing. It was a man, cloaked in shadows, and he seemed to be watching me with an intensity that froze my blood. I called out, my voice breaking the silence like a gunshot. The figure remained motionless, his gaze unwavering. Fear gnawed at the edges of my mind as I contemplated the unsettling encounter. What was he doing here in the middle of nowhere, and why was he watching me? With a sudden surge of courage, I approached the silent observer. His features remained obscured, but I could feel the weight of his gaze. I asked him who he was and what he wanted, but he responded with a cryptic silence. The air seemed to thicken with tension as the forest held its breath. Abruptly, the man turned and melted into the shadows, leaving me alone in the silent wilderness. A sense of unease lingered, but curiosity compelled me to follow his trail. The path led deeper into the woods, and I navigated the labyrinth of trees with trepidation. As I ventured into the heart of the forest, I stumbled upon an abandoned campsite. Tattered belongings lay scattered, and the remnants of a hastily extinguished fire still smoldered. It was as if the previous occupant had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a ghostly imprint. The discovery sent a chill down my spine. Who was the silent observer, and what had transpired in this forgotten corner of the woods? The answers remained elusive, hidden within the enigma of the wilderness. I retraced my steps to my own campsite, haunted by the unsettling encounter that defied explanation. Third story, Cabin of Shadows, by Mark Harris. In the heart of the Adirondack Mountains, I sought solace in a rustic cabin nestled beside the tranquil waters of Lake Placid. The promise of seclusion and serenity drew me to this remote retreat, where the only neighbors were the towering pines and the elusive creatures of the wilderness. The cabin, weathered by time and elements, exuded an old-world charm. Its creaking floorboards and whispering winds through the cracks added a nostalgic touch to the experience. Little did I know, the cabin held secrets that would cast a shadow over my peaceful escape. The first night passed without incident, and I reveled in the simplicity of my surroundings. However, as darkness descended on the second evening, an unsettling sensation gripped the air. The cabin, once a haven of tranquility, now seemed to harbor a mysterious energy that sent shivers down my spine. I retired to my room, nestled under the eaves of the cabin. The moon cast ethereal beams through the small window, illuminating the rustic furnishings. As I drifted into a fitful sleep, a strange sound roused me from my dreams, a rhythmic tapping that echoed through the cabin. I dismissed it as the nocturnal symphony of the forest, but the tapping persisted, growing louder and more insistent. I followed the sound to the heart of the cabin, where a narrow door concealed a staircase leading to the basement. The tapping seemed to emanate from the depths below. With trepidation, I descended into the dimly lit cellar. The air grew colder, and an otherworldly hush enveloped me. At the far end of the room, I discovered an ancient wooden trunk, adorned with intricate carvings. The tapping echoed from within, as if something sought release. As I opened the trunk, a chilling gust of wind swept through the cellar, extinguishing the feeble light. In the darkness, I felt a presence, a malevolent force that lingered just beyond the realm of sight. Whispers filled the air, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to resonate with ancient sorrow. Suddenly, the room bathed in an eerie glow, revealing the spectral figures of shadowy apparitions. They flickered like ethereal flames, their features distorted by the passage of time. I recoiled in terror as the ghosts of the past beckoned me into their haunting dance. The cabin, once a haven, now stood at the crossroads of the living and the dead. The shadows clung to the walls, and the air pulsed with the weight of forgotten memories. I stumbled back up the stairs, fleeing the spectral embrace of the basement. As I emerged into the night, the cabin seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. The tapping ceased, and the ethereal glow faded into the obscurity of the forest. The following morning, I packed my belongings and left the haunted cabin behind, haunted by the shadows that clung to its time-worn walls. Fourth story, Footsteps in the Fog, by Sarah Thompson. On the rugged coastline of Oregon, where cliffs met the relentless waves of the Pacific Ocean, I embarked on a solo overnight hike. The air was thick with the tang of salt, and the distant cries of seagulls accompanied me as I navigated the mist-shrouded trails. The coastal fog rolled in, adding an ethereal quality to the landscape, concealing both the dangers and mysteries that lay ahead. I set up camp on a cliffside overlooking the vast expanse of the ocean. The rhythmic sound of crashing waves echoed through the night, creating a lullaby that should have eased me into a peaceful slumber. However, the haunting atmosphere of the fog-laden night held a different plan for my restless mind. As I lay in my tent, the distant sound of footsteps reached my ears. The crunch of gravel beneath heavy boots carried through the thick fog. I dismissed it at first, attributing the noise to a fellow hiker or a park ranger making their rounds. But the footsteps grew nearer, and a sense of unease settled over me. I unzipped the tent cautiously, peering into the impenetrable mist. The glow of a lantern materialized through the fog, casting an eerie glow on the silhouette of a figure approaching my campsite. A sudden chill gripped my spine as the footsteps ceased just outside my tent. "Hello?" I called out, my voice swallowed by the dense fog. The figure remained silent, obscured by the mist. It was then that I noticed the lantern emitted an odd, flickering light, casting long, distorted shadows on the ground. As the seconds ticked by, a voice whispered through the fog, chilling me to the core. "Beware the cliffs, for the sea claims more than the eyes can see." The words lingered in the air, and a cold wind carried them away. The figure vanished into the fog, leaving me alone with the haunting message. The following morning, I awoke to a clear sky, the fog having dissipated with the dawn. Intrigued and disturbed, I decided to explore the cliffs, wondering if there was any truth to the cryptic warning. The trail led me to the edge of the precipice, where jagged rocks met the tumultuous sea below. As I gazed over the cliffs, a spectral apparition materialized in the mist. The figure I had encountered the previous night stood at the edge, staring out to sea. His form wavered like a mirage, and the flickering lantern illuminated a face frozen in eternal sorrow. The ghostly figure turned toward me, and for a fleeting moment, our eyes met. He raised a hand, pointing to the ocean below. The sea roared, revealing the remnants of a shipwreck hidden beneath the waves, a haunting testament to the dangers that lurked beneath the surface. In that moment, I understood the warning. The cliffs harbored the ghosts of maritime tragedies, and the footsteps in the fog belonged to a spectral guardian, cautioning those who ventured too close to the edge. As I retreated from the cliffside, the ghostly figure dissipated into the mist, leaving me with a profound sense of reverence for the unseen forces that shape the coastal landscape. Fifth story: The Disappearing Campsite, by Jonathan Miller. Deep within the expansive wilderness of Yellowstone National Park, I embarked on a solo camping trip. The towering trees and pristine rivers created a natural sanctuary, far removed from the trappings of modern civilization. Little did I know that the boundaries between reality and the inexplicable would blur in the heart of this untamed wilderness. I set up camp beside a crystal-clear stream, surrounded by the rugged beauty of the Rocky Mountains. The night sky stretched above, adorned with a tapestry of stars that seemed to hold the secrets of the cosmos. The crackling campfire cast flickering shadows, creating an illusion of warmth and safety in the vast expanse of the wilderness. As the night unfolded, a disconcerting feeling settled over me. The once familiar sounds of rustling leaves and distant animal calls were replaced by an unsettling silence. It was as if the very essence of the forest held its breath, anticipating an inexplicable event that loomed on the horizon. I retired to my tent, the nylon walls offering a flimsy barrier between me and the mysteries of the night. In the pre-dawn hours, I awoke to a strange sensation, a subtle vibration that resonated through the ground. The tent walls quivered, and the air hummed with an otherworldly energy. I unzipped the tent, stepping into a surreal landscape. The once familiar campsite had transformed. The stream had shifted its course, and the trees stood in positions that defied the laws of nature. Panic gripped me as I realized the disorienting reality of my surroundings. I navigated the altered terrain, desperately searching for familiar landmarks. The forest seemed to twist and turn, as if mocking my attempts to find a way back to the familiar. In the midst of my disarray, I stumbled upon a clearing, a place that shouldn't exist according to my mental map of the wilderness. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient tree, its gnarled branches reaching toward the heavens. As I approached, the air grew thick with an otherworldly presence. Shadows danced along the edges of my perception, and the tree seemed to pulse with a spectral energy. Unable to resist the magnetic pull of the ancient tree, I reached out to touch its bark. A surge of images flooded my mind, a montage of faces and landscapes, each fleeting like fragments of a forgotten dream. The whispers of the forest echoed through my consciousness, revealing glimpses of a reality beyond the veil of perception. When I withdrew my hand, the campsite had returned to its familiar state. The stream flowed in its original course, and the trees stood in their natural positions. The disconcerting vibrations and surreal alterations had ceased, leaving me standing in the quiet solitude of the untouched wilderness. As dawn bathed the landscape in golden hues, I packed my belongings with a sense of trepidation. The forest had revealed a glimpse of its enigmatic nature, blurring the lines between reality and the supernatural. The memory of the disappearing campsite would linger, a testament to the untamed mysteries that lie hidden within the heart of the wild. Sixth story: The Enigmatic Village, by Maria Rodriguez. Nestled in the heart of the Black Forest in Germany, I embarked on a solo camping adventure, seeking the tranquility of nature in its most ancient and mysterious form. The towering firs loomed overhead, their branches intertwining to create a natural canopy that obscured the sky. The scent of pine hung in the air, and the soft rustle of leaves underfoot provided a soothing cadence as I explored the depths of the forest. After a day of hiking, I stumbled upon a clearing that revealed a quaint village seemingly untouched by time. Cobblestone streets wound between timber-framed cottages adorned with flower boxes bursting with vibrant blooms. The village appeared like a relic from a bygone era, an anachronistic enclave within the otherwise untouched wilderness. As night fell, the warm glow of lanterns illuminated the narrow streets, casting dancing shadows on the ancient buildings. Intrigued by the unexpected discovery, I decided to venture further into the village, hoping to catch a glimpse of its elusive inhabitants. The villagers, clad in garments that echoed a medieval past, moved through the night with purposeful strides. The air buzzed with whispered conversations in a language that seemed both ancient and unfamiliar. I cautiously approached a group gathered in the village square, their faces obscured by the flickering lantern light. A woman, adorned in a flowing gown, noticed my presence. Her eyes, dark and inscrutable, met mine for a fleeting moment before she beckoned me to join the gathering. The villagers spoke of a timeless existence, of a village suspended in the twilight between the past and the present. They invited me to partake in their celebration, a mysterious ritual that unfolded beneath the canopy of ancient trees. As the night wore on, the village revealed its enigmatic nature. The ritual consisted of a dance that seemed to channel the very essence of the forest itself. The villagers moved with a grace that transcended the boundaries of the mortal realm, their steps synchronized with the rhythmic pulse of the forest. In the midst of the celebration, a sudden awareness gripped me. The boundaries between the village and the surrounding forest blurred, and the trees seemed to come alive with an ancient energy. Shadows twisted and turned, forming ephemeral shapes that mirrored the dance of the villagers. As dawn approached, the villagers gathered in a circle around a massive oak tree at the center of the village. Their voices rose in a melodic chant that resonated through the clearing. I stood at the periphery, a silent observer in the midst of a timeless ceremony. With the first light of day, the villagers dispersed, leaving me standing alone in the village square. The ancient buildings stood as silent witnesses to the ephemeral celebration that had unfolded beneath the canopy of the Black Forest. As I retraced my steps through the forest, the village vanished like a mirage, leaving me with the lingering question of whether I had witnessed a glimpse into a hidden dimension or the echoes of a past that clung to the present. The enigmatic village would forever remain etched in my memory, a testament to the mysteries that can unfold in the depths of the world's oldest and most untouched landscapes. 7th story, Echoes in the Outback, by Liam O'Connor. In the vast expanses of the Australian Outback, where the red earth stretched to the horizon, I embarked on a solo camping expedition. The oppressive heat of the day gave way to a cool night, and the stars glittered overhead like diamonds in the black velvet sky. I pitched my tent near a dry riverbed, surrounded by the eerie silence of the desert. As the night unfolded, an unsettling stillness settled over the landscape. The rhythmic sounds of nocturnal creatures were conspicuously absent, replaced by a vacuum of sound that echoed through the vast emptiness. Alone in the heart of the outback, I felt the weight of isolation press upon me like the oppressive heat of the day. In the dead of night, a distant howl pierced the silence, a mournful sound that sent a shiver down my spine. I dismissed it as a wild dog or perhaps a dingo, common inhabitants of the Australian wilderness. However, as the howling continued, its spectral quality suggested something otherworldly. I ventured into the desert, guided by the haunting melody of the distant howls. The moon cast long shadows over the arid landscape, and the air shimmered with an ethereal energy. The howls led me to the remains of an old mining settlement, long abandoned and reclaimed by the unforgiving desert. The skeletal structures of dilapidated buildings loomed in the moonlight, casting eerie silhouettes on the cracked earth. The howls intensified, converging on a dilapidated mine shaft at the edge of the settlement. Intrigued and unnerved, I approached the yawning blackness of the abandoned mine. As I peered into the depths, an indistinct figure emerged from the shadows. It was a solitary woman, clad in tattered clothing that seemed frozen in time. Her eyes, wide and vacant, met mine with a haunted intensity. The howls resonated from her lips, a mournful lament that echoed through the abandoned settlement. I cautiously inquired about the source of the haunting sounds, but the woman remained silent, her gaze fixed on some unseen specter. The air around us seemed to vibrate with the residual energy of a forgotten era, as if the ghostly echoes of the past had found a vessel in the lonely figure before me. As dawn approached, the woman's form dissipated into the wind, leaving me alone in the desolate settlement. The haunting howls ceased, replaced once again by the oppressive silence of the outback. The abandoned mine, a portal to the echoes of a bygone era, stood as a silent testament to the untold stories buried beneath the red earth. As I retreated from the desolate settlement, the vastness of the outback stretched before me, its secrets and mysteries veiled by the timeless expanse of the desert. The echoes in the outback would forever linger in my memory, a spectral reminder of the enigmatic forces that can be unearthed in the solitude of the world's most remote landscapes. 8th Story. Whispers of the Ancient Grove, by Alexander Harper. In the heart of the ancient Ardennes Forest, where the moss-covered trees stood sentinel over centuries of secrets, I embarked on a solo camping expedition. The whispers of the wind through the gnarled branches seemed to carry tales of forgotten lore, and the dense canopy above created an ethereal twilight beneath which the mysteries of the forest unfolded. My chosen campsite nestled near an ancient grove, where the trees stood in a circle like sentinels guarding the secrets of time. The moss underfoot felt like a living carpet, and the air bore the scent of earth and memories. Little did I know that the whispers of the ancient grove held the key to a story that transcended the boundaries of reality. As night descended, the forest transformed into a realm of shadowy enchantment. I sat by my campfire, mesmerized by the dance of flames that cast flickering light on the ancient trees. The symphony of nocturnal creatures began, and the rustling leaves seemed to murmur secrets that eluded human understanding. As I settled into my tent, the temperature dropped, and an unexplainable chill settled over the grove. I cocooned myself in my sleeping bag, lulled by the distant hoots of owls and the rhythmic drumming of rain on the tent's roof. Just as I began to drift into the realm of dreams, the atmosphere shifted. A soft melody, haunting and ancient, wove through the air. It was a song that seemed to transcend time, a melody that echoed with the voices of long-forgotten souls. Intrigued and unnerved, I unzipped my tent and stepped into the cool night, drawn toward the source of the ethereal music. The grove, bathed in the silver glow of moonlight, revealed a sight that defied the laws of the tangible world. Spectral figures, translucent and ethereal, twirled in a dance that mirrored the undulating shadows cast by the ancient trees. Their movements were fluid, an otherworldly ballet that echoed the stories etched in the grove's bark. Among the dancers, I noticed a figure that stood apart, a woman with flowing hair that seemed to catch the moonlight. Her eyes, pools of ancient wisdom, met mine, and a subtle nod beckoned me to join the spectral dance. As I stepped into the circle, the air buzzed with a spectral energy, and the whispers of the grove grew more pronounced. The dance unfolded like a tapestry of forgotten memories. The spectral figures revealed moments from the past, battles fought beneath the canopy, lovers who once sought solace within the grove, and rituals that bound the grove to the threads of destiny. The stories intertwined, weaving a narrative that spanned epochs. As the dance reached its climax, the spectral figures converged at the center of the grove, their collective energy coalescing into a blinding light. The air hummed with ancient power, and the very fabric of reality seemed to tremble. In that ephemeral moment, the grove became a bridge between the tangible and the ethereal. With a final crescendo, the spectral dance dissipated, leaving me standing alone in the moonlit grove. The air, now still, carried the echoes of the ancient melody. The grove, once a silent witness to the passage of time, had revealed its secrets in a dance that transcended the boundaries of the mortal realm. As dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, I emerged from the grove, the whispers of the ancient trees fading into the background. The memories of the spectral dance lingered, an indelible mark on my soul. The Ardennes Forest, with its ancient grove, had unveiled a story that transcended the ordinary, a tale of time-worn echoes that whispered through the ages. Ninth story. Shadows on the Appalachian Trail, by Eleanor Reynolds. In the rugged expanse of the Appalachian Trail, I embarked on a solo overnight hike, seeking the solitude that only the ancient mountains could provide. The sun dipped below the jagged peaks, casting long shadows across the trail. The rustle of leaves and the distant cries of wildlife provided a symphony to accompany my journey into the heart of the wilderness. As twilight settled in, I set up my modest campsite on the edge of a clearing. The dense forest surrounded me like a wall of emerald, and the evening air was crisp with the scent of pine. The flickering campfire offered solace against the encroaching darkness, but little did I know that shadows, far more sinister, lurked beyond the veil of the trees. In the dead of night, a distant rustling disrupted the natural sounds of the forest. The rhythm of footsteps, irregular and unsettling, approached my campsite. I strained to discern the origin of the sound, but the darkness concealed the intruder. The rustling grew closer, a deliberate advance that sent shivers down my spine. As the footsteps drew near, I glimpsed the silhouette of a figure, a shadowy presence that seemed to materialize from the night itself. The intruder, clad in tattered clothing, moved with an unsettling grace, their face obscured by the hood of a cloak. My heart quickened as I realized this was no ordinary hiker traversing the Appalachian Trail. I called out into the darkness, my voice cutting through the night like a blade. The figure halted, the hood turning in my direction. Silence hung in the air as we locked eyes across the flickering campfire. It was then that I noticed the unnatural glow in their eyes, a spectral luminescence that betrayed an otherworldly origin. Without uttering a word, the mysterious figure turned and retreated into the shadows. Fear and curiosity warred within me, but a primal instinct urged me to stay put. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon, I ventured into the surrounding woods to investigate. The trail twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of the ancient mountains. The air grew colder, and an unnatural hush settled over the forest. I stumbled upon a hidden clearing, where ancient symbols were etched into the moss-covered stones. The symbols, a language from a time long forgotten, whispered of a connection between the natural and the supernatural. As I traced the symbols with trembling fingers, a voice echoed in the wind, a voice that seemed to resonate from the very fabric of the mountains. It spoke of ancient beings that once roamed these peaks, guardians of the natural order. The mysterious figure, a spectral messenger, had crossed my path to deliver a warning, an ancient force awakened, threatening the delicate balance of the Appalachian wilderness. The shadows cast by the ancient trees seemed to shift and writhe, as if concealing secrets that transcended the limits of human understanding. With a heavy heart, I retraced my steps, leaving the hidden clearing behind. The Appalachian Trail, once a familiar path, now bore the weight of an ancient enigma, an unsettling truth that lingered in the shadows. 10th story. The Sirens of Cradle Mountain by Thomas Anderson. In the remote wilderness of Tasmania, beneath the towering peaks of Cradle Mountain, I embarked on a solo camping expedition. The untamed landscape, dotted with glacial lakes and ancient forests, promised a solitude unparalleled by any other. The air was pure, and the rugged terrain seemed untouched by the passage of time. I set up camp beside Dove Lake, its placid waters reflecting the jagged silhouette of Cradle Mountain. The day's adventure left me exhilarated, but as night fell, a different energy gripped the wilderness. The moon cast an ethereal glow on the landscape, and the haunting calls of nocturnal creatures echoed through the silent expanse. As I lay in my tent, lulled by the distant symphony of nature, a haunting melody emerged from the depths of the wilderness. It was a song, sweet and alluring, that seemed to beckon from the shores of Dove Lake. Intrigued, I unzipped my tent and followed the haunting notes into the night. The melody led me to the water's edge, where a spectral mist hung low over the lake. The moonlit scene revealed the silhouettes of three ethereal figures, their forms draped in shimmering veils that seemed to dance with the wind. The Sirens of Cradle Mountain had revealed themselves, a trio of mystical beings that called this remote wilderness home. Entranced by their haunting song, I approached cautiously. The sirens, with their eyes reflecting the moon's silver light, acknowledged my presence with a knowing gaze. Their voices, harmonizing with the rustle of leaves and the gentle lapping of the lake, wove a tapestry of enchantment that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. As the night unfolded, the sirens shared tales of the ancient land, speaking in a language that resonated with the echoes of time. They spoke of the spirits that inhabited the mountain, of the hidden realms accessible only to those attuned to the natural symphony. The siren's song became a conduit, allowing me to glimpse the ephemeral beauty of Cradle Mountain in its truest form. With the first light of dawn, the siren's song faded, and the mist that veiled the lake dissipated. The mystical beings, their veils trailing like ethereal wisps, vanished into the heart of the wilderness. Dove Lake returned to its serene reflection, and the ancient peaks of Cradle Mountain stood silent witnesses to the ephemeral encounter. As I packed my belongings and began the journey back, the haunting melody lingered in my ears, a reminder of the mystical secrets that lay hidden within the heart of Tasmania's untamed wilderness. The Sirens of Cradle Mountain, with their ethereal song, had gifted me a glimpse into a realm where the natural and the supernatural converged, leaving an indelible mark on my soul. Thank you for joining us for the whole video. That video you see on screen is one of my favorite. Check it out. If you've enjoyed these horror stories, show your support by hitting the subscribe button. Did this tale send chills down your spine? Let me know in the comments.